Pillar Discipline Entity, SoFi Technologies. This deep dive exists because SoFi sits at the intersection of growth narrative and operational execution. Familiarity with the brand's ambition, combined with repeated system exposure, requires requalification. Without that pause, narrative can quietly substitute for discipline. This work exists to determine whether a business that attracts attention through aspiration can still support calm operation without demanding constant validation. Restraint remains a complete decision. SoFi's price behavior reflects expectation sensitivity. Movement remains reactive to rate shifts, earnings interpretation, and sentiment around growth viability. While volatility has moderated from earlier extremes, price still invites attention more often than earns indifference. Calm operation is possible here, but not automatic. SoFi functions less as a default and more as an aspirational platform. Users engage with the promise of consolidation, simplicity, and upward mobility. Adoption reflects intention rather than habit. This creates engagement, but also introduces fragility when expectations stall or timelines extend. Demand exists, but it remains conditional. Durability here is situational rather than embedded. The business continues to expand product breadth and ecosystem integration, but permanence has not yet become culturally or behaviorally secured. Continuity depends on execution and progress rather than inevitability. Cash flow has improved as the business matures, but it remains linked to macro conditions and execution milestones. Waiting is possible, but patience is evaluated rather than assumed. Time passing is not neutral. It is observed. SoFi accepts structure cautiously. Covered calls can function during consolidation, but upside sensitivity remains elevated. Cash-secured puts represent intentional exposure to execution risk rather than passive accumulation. Structure must be paired with disciplined sizing and distance to avoid compensating for uncertainty. From an operator perspective, this is a higher attention business. It requires periodic reassessment as the business model evolves. Narrative pressure remains present, even when avoided. This aligns less with operators seeking disengagement and more with those willing to observe transition without attachment. Capital placed here must be explicitly role-defined and limited. Income generation is secondary to exposure control. Opportunity cost is accepted only if attention load remains contained. If capital begins absorbing narrative urgency or execution anxiety, the role is violated. System fit, satellite. This business functions as a bounded exposure rather than a core holding. Engagement is opportunistic and size limited. It does not support disengagement or assumption-based patience. Correct action at present. Observe with restraint. Engagement remains conditional and contained. System integrity is preserved by waiting. Disclaimer: this material reflects personal observation and lived operating experience shared for documentary purposes only. It does not constitute financial, investment, legal, or professional advice. Copyright Xiao Wellness Media. All rights reserved.